And we are back. Hello, everyone. Halo review from Apocalypse Movies, episode number 4, titled Homecoming. Very proper title, and we'll get into all that. And
I'm your
we
host
are
this week,
back. Hello,
Gio
everyone.
Ramos, and
Halo
I am
review.
joined by Mr. Sean Wingblade from Flick and Reel. Sean, what's up? How you doing?
What's happening? How we doing today?
Oh man, it's I'm good. So you guys know we usually do this on Thursdays if you're watching every Thursday. However, this week it's Friday, and that's because I just moved yesterday, and it's been a very busy 48 hours for myself, and so Wingblade was kind enough to be flexible, and here we are on Friday, ready to talk
Hey,
Halo. So
it
another
worked out. It worked
day
out. We had
for all of you out there to let this episode digest, maybe watch it a second time. But Sean, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, doing good. Yeah, I mean, it worked out because Dumbledore came out yesterday. I know a lot of people probably went out and saw the new Fantastic Beasts movies, so
Yeah.
I was able to take the kids out to do that. Did not have to worry about rushing home to get a review done. But we're here now, we're ready to go. And I just finished rewatching the episode again just to get a fresh take on it.
Yeah, I just watched the episode about a half hour ago. That's usually what
Mhm,
I do. I even whether it's the MCU or DC, whatever, I try to watch it as close as I can
mhm.
to our recap shows. And sometimes it backfires. Like literally as the intro is playing, I'll finally get to the credits and boom, episode over. It's like,
Mhm.
wow, very fresh in my mind. But I'll go ahead and
Right.
start this one off. I like where the storylines are going. It's two main storylines. Spoilers ahead if you haven't seen. We're talking episode 4 of Halo. Two main storylines. You have the Madrigal storyline with Quan Ha, and she's trying to avenge her father and I guess sort of lead the rebellion. And then you have Master Chief
Mhm.
and his I guess there's three. There's Master Chief and him going home to where he grew up and just trying to discover his past or
Right.
rediscover his past, I guess I should say. And then you have the Spartans who are also on their own little journey, trying to uncover more of this covenant, and they have help with the scientist. I forget her name. Do you know her name? The scientist character.
Was it just Miranda?
I I think you're right,
Is
Miranda,
that it? Okay.
yeah. And, so 3 storylines going on, and I like the trajectory of where these stories are going.
Mhm.
However, it's a little bit of a mixed bag for me because I think well, you weren't on last week, but Jake was on, and we were talking
I was
about
listening.
the
Mhm.
lack of firefights and action that you would come to expect from a video game adaptation, especially like Halo, one like Halo. But
Yeah.
in this episode, we don't get really that much. I mean, we do see Soren kicking some ass, which is always cool
Little,
to see.
very little.
But other than that, this was a very drama heavy episode.
Mhm.
Um, how did you feel about this episode? Do you share the same vibe, or is it a little bit different for you?
It was another very drama-filled episode. I think
Hmm.
that seems to be the angle we're going with this show, and so for the shoot 'em up action genre video game franchise that we've all been waiting to see
Yeah.
is actually a character deconstruction of Master Chief and what it's meant to be an indestructible ultimate soldier, for all these years. So it's interesting. It's something to get used to. And I was on board for sure with them doing it for like an episode or two and really like giving his backstory. But I do feel like it's starting to drag a bit because and not to say I don't like what they're showing. It's all great. I'm actually way on board with the
Sure.
story itself, but I need a little more action. I need just a little more of excitement. And kind of the fighting between Soren and the guards, and there's a little bit of like the rebellion shoot them, and they just basically run away and stuff like that. Like
Right.
that was fine, but we want to see the Master Chief suiting up and kicking ass. Like that's what the show. That's what people are tuning in for,
Right.
and it's not going to lose me. I'm still going to be here for the whole thing, but I feel like it's going to lose a lot of people who want to see all these cool aliens and weapons and tech live on screen and see where that leads them, type of thing. And they're not doing that yet. And so I think it's going to be tough to keep the general, oh, I played multiplayer once or twice, like
Right.
that type of audience.
Hmm.
I feel like those people are going to be waning, um,
Yeah,
and
I
possibly dropping
mean,
out,
I'm sorry.
and just possibly dropping out.
Oh yeah, no, totally. And I mean, I can't blame them. I mean,
Yeah,
I know we do a recap show, and I know you do one on Flick and Reel as well with
yep,
Jesse. So we're,
yeah.
we're kind
Flick and
of,
reel tonight 9 p.m.
there's a plug,
Hey,
9 p.m.
plug
That's Pacific time, right?
Pacific time. Yeah,
There we
but
go.
about
Yeah,
2.5 hours.
gotta look out for our Eastern viewers here. Yeah, and as you were saying, like, I can't blame them if they're starting to lose interest. There's definitely moments of fan service, like John Booz here. Thank you for being here.
Hmm.
Talked about the Needler,
Yes,
one of the most deadly weapons in the video game, especially when you could dual wield them. Remember that?
right.
I
Hmm.
mean, that was just unstoppable. Um, but then you think back to the first episode and how action packed that was. Like,
Right.
hell, at this point, I'll take a firefight with the rebellions and what's left of them. Give me something.
Yeah.
Um, but that's not to say that it's all bad.
Hmm.
We'll take turns going, highlights and what we want to talk about. But for
Sure.
me, I found the Spartans to be, whether it was intentional or not, kind of funny. Just
Yeah.
how they talk and how they operate, and I felt like they were kind of messing around with that scientist a little bit. The story about
Hmm.
the animals and how they all had pets, and the scientist is like, "Oh, that's cool," and then you find out what the pets were for, and it's just, I'm like, wow, yeah, these Spartans got it rough. I mean, you saw a
Hmm.
little bit of the flashback of Soren, John, Kai, and then the other Spartans as well. I can't remember their
Hmm.
names. um but anytime they're on screen, I don't know. I guess my pupils expand,
Sure.
because that's what I want to see. I want to see more of the Spartans. I want to see them in combat. Just give me one more firefight with the Spartans
Hmm.
led by Master Chief, but I don't know if we're gonna get that. So, go ahead, your turn. What do you want to
I
talk about this
they
episode?
have they have to get we have to get that eventually. At
We
least a
have
bit of
to.
that. We can't not. Otherwise, I mean, they've already been renewed for season 2. If I'm remembering reading that article correctly.
Mhm.
So they're going to be in for a rude awakening when by the time the finale rolls around and they have, half to less of their initial viewership. And they're like,
Sure.
"Oh, maybe season 2 is not a great idea." I agree. I liked what Kai did, how she saw John last week removing his the pill thing. Pebble? What was it called?
It's
Pill?
like
I
a
think it was just pill.
device that
Yeah.
blocks your emotional
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Um and so she's like, "Hey, I want to try that too," which is a little interesting because there's nothing really guiding her to do that other than because there was something guiding John to do that, right? It was Soren planting that seed in his head. It was him touching the keystone and getting these visions. But I wonder why she did it, and that could just be, plot device, like, "Hey, I saw him do it, so I'm going to do it too," type of thing. But there was nothing that was like a reason for her to do it, type of thing. Um, and then the way she was interacting, she wasn't as wondrous as John. She was a little more
She
like
seemed like she wasn't all there.
she was having too much fun with the new experiences and almost like it's going to overwhelm her. And I'm wondering if we're going to see her as maybe not like a villain, but like a hurdle where okay, we need to help her, we need to stop her from doing something wrong because she reminds me of like have you ever seen the Star Trek movie where Data gets an emotion chip in his head? I think it was Star Trek Generations.
I haven't seen
And
that one,
okay,
but
so he
similar?
basically like he's a robot, right? And which is similar to what the Spartans are, and they install an emotion chip in him. So now he has all these new emotions flooding him for the very first time, where he can actually feel pain and suffering and empathy and laughter and etc.
Right.
And it's too much, and he basically just shuts down before he causes harm to other people. So they might be doing something similar to that with her, just the way she was acting the scenes out. It
Mhm.
almost seems like she was constantly on the edge, like there was a lot of tension in that scenes with her and the doctor. You know what I mean? Like it was like, oh, if she says something wrong, she's gonna take it the wrong way and just snap on her, like that type of thing. So there was a lot of
It definitely gave
it
that
was it was
vibe.
building tension for me. Yeah.
I
But I liked
mean,
it. I like it. It'll be an interesting wrinkle to throw into the Spartans and give them something to do while John's off going doing something
yeah, because they
else.
kinda just been on standby, right? Like, what do we do? We're
Yeah.
just gonna hang out at the barracks and
Yeah.
clean
And
our
because
rifle.
we thought we were going to get a little bit of action when, Halsey in the first episode was like, "Hey, you protect your guy, you protect John when he lands." And then they march on out, and then they didn't do anything because he ended up taking off because he touched the thing. So there was no action for them to do other than that initial opening scene in the first episode. So yeah, they've just been sitting on standby, exactly what you just said.
Yeah, it gave the impression that they were getting ready to if the Marines were gonna get violent, the Spartans were gonna get violent on the
Yeah.
Marines,
Oh yeah.
and, who knows what that I would have liked to have seen that now that, I think about it. Um, but to your point, when, Kai starts taking blood and dyeing her hair,
Yeah.
I'm just like,
That
"Oh,
it wasn't blood. I thought the same thing.
it
So,
wasn't blood?"
I had to rewind it when I first watched it because I was like, "What did I just see?" I thought she
Yeah.
had cut herself or something happened. She had a little bottle, almost like like what you'll see in like a salon, when women are dyeing their hair and stuff like that. And so she picks it up and she like squirts it out on a rag, and then she sets it back down next to her. I thought the same thing. I thought maybe she cut herself or something was happening, or I
Yeah.
thought, to be honest, like my mind went to the first place it went was, I thought maybe she took the thing out and now all of a sudden she's getting her normal woman, stuff going on. And I thought she was like wondering, what is this red stuff coming out of her type of thing. They
Mhm.
didn't go that way. And then it really freaked me out when she started touching her hair with it. But obviously that's why I
So it
rewound it. I'm
wasn't
like, hold on,
blood.
what did I just see? It wasn't blood. It was definitely some sort of dye, maybe like a suit dye or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, that changes it a little bit because 'cause I'm like, throughout this episode, I'm like, she's gonna go off the rails. It's gonna happen,
Yeah.
like, it's too overwhelming for her, and,
Right.
they made it very clear in this episode that these Spartans might be Spartans, but they're not as special as the Master Chief, and they even acknowledge that, they're
Yeah.
like, "We're trying to" excuse me, the doctor's like, I want to know what makes John special. And then one
Mhm.
of the Spartans is like, he's the Master Chief.
He's the
And it's
master
like,
chief.
boom, there you go, mic drop.
Right.
Um, Side note, the sound design for this episode was perfect. I
Mhm.
don't know. Every time a Spartan took a step,
Mhm.
you felt
Go,
the weight
go,
of that
go,
suit.
go, go. Yeah.
Boom, boom. Yeah. And I'll say it again. We've talked about it for 4 episodes now. The suits look amazing. They
Mhm.
do. They're so realistic. I got to see some behind the scenes of the making of this suit. How much of that is, visual effects? Because like let's be honest, it's not all practical.
Yeah.
Even though it might look that way. Case in
I
point,
don't
Deadpool.
and
But
I don't think
go
Tony Stark, I don't think, Robert Downey Jr. wore the actual Iron Man suit past, like, Iron Man 2. Like, it was all CG in every movie past that. So
yeah,
they could be doing something similar if they have the budget for it to just be putting, dots all over them and
or
put the
maybe
suit
they
on them.
put so much of the budget into the suits, and they're like, "Damn, we don't have money for the fights. Damn it."
We ran out of the budget for bullets, like in Deadpool, exactly what you said.
There we go. Yeah, and then we got a Halo moment when
Yeah.
one of the characters, I forget who, literally says, "Halo." It was
It wa
Kai, wasn't it?
it was Kai, yeah, when they were going over the sounds. They were going through the linguistics and stuff. And,
And I hate
I
that. Go
I
ahead,
felt
go
like
ahead.
Leonardo DiCaprio. I was like,
I was gonna say I hate that every time something like that happens, I either think of Leo DiCaprio or
Mhm.
Peter Griffin in the theater, like, haha, it's just where our minds go. Okay, we're
Right.
geeks and we love it. Um, Now, Kwan Ha, the daughter of the late general of the rebellion,
Mhm.
I can appreciate what she's doing, but there were times where I'm just like, "Oh my god," like rolling my eyes, and I'm like,
Yep.
"Is this Spielberg right here?" Is because it feels like her arc is something that I would find in a Spielberg, where it's like
Sure.
a child and all the emotion and overcoming that and becoming a hero and being brave. I'm like,
Yeah.
ah, God. And you know what? Like there were times when I'm like, I swear to God, Soren better not die because of this child. Like that's how much I started to get irritated and a little bit worried about, where it was going. But no, everywhere she goes on Madrigal, there's destruction, obviously, because she's wanted for like a hefty sum of money.
Right.
Um,
Which we
and
can't read. I
yeah,
was I went back and I looked at it, I'm like, "Oh, there's not even a number there. It's just symbols."
yeah, I thought saw a million, but it was like some weird, yeah, language
Yeah.
stuff. But she tries to do the rebellion and gather what she can. She finds out, nope, all your dad's generals are dead. And then there's this truth to uncover that maybe the whole reason behind the revolution is not what she thought. At least that's what her aunt was,
Mhm.
leading to before she too got killed. And how do you feel about all that? I'm just like I I don't know. I mean, anytime that storyline goes on, it feels a little long for me. That's when a series starts feeling a
Yeah.
little bit long. But do you feel differently?
I I had talked about this in previous episodes too, where that's where I thought her story was gonna go, and I was definitely correct,
Yeah.
in my assumption up until this point because of what her aunt said. And I honestly like this episode and the the way it unfolded and how we totally see how absolutely overwhelmed she is and she's so far out of her depth and she's unprepared for actually picking up the mantle from her father and going
Yeah.
after the rebellion because of how she acted when this happened or that happened. And she's just like, "Oh yeah, my father's dead, but I'm just gonna let's just keep it moving." And it's like, no, you like there's real world consequences. You dipped out on the planet, not on purpose, like it's not her fault, but like
Right.
she dipped out and they had to go pick up their dead bodies and everyone's dead and they were executed, they were made an example of, like people are terrified and scared. And she just like comes traipsing like, all right, let's start, let's get rolling again. It's like, no,
Right.
dude, we're done with that. And so you can tell how out of her depth she is. And I was like, all right, well, I kind of like don't care anymore. Then I don't want this rebellion. Like, I don't want to see just how
Right.
she was acting when she was doing it. But then when her aunt goes and tells her, like, oh, your father went into the desert and came back a changed person. He was different after that. He saw the light or he had a new mission in life or something. So that kind of speaks to me like it's going to be something more supernatural,
Hmm.
like he found a hidden power or something like that. And so now I feel like that's going to be her mission. She's going to go try to go on the same spiritual journey that he went on, and we'll see what comes of it. But I think we're done in the city, at least that she was in, the main city on Madrigal, and they're gonna just venture out, and we're gonna get desert power. They're gonna do a crossover with Dune, and we're gonna
Mm.
just gonna make it happen.
You'll see a giant sandworm come out and
Huge butthole sandworms. Yeah.
um, I wonder if what's to be discovered will play into the first episode.
Mhm.
Obviously, the Covenants show up, and we know there was an artifact, or they call it a relic, whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
But I wonder if there was something else as well, like that specific area the Covenant attacked.
Mhm.
The father's there. Why not attack the city? I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
Right.
So where do we
Yeah.
go from here? Master Chief John, he has
Hmm.
discovered another artifact. The Halo rings are coming into play now,
Mm.
so it's going a little bit more toward the lore, at least from like the MacGuffin of it all, with the
Hmm.
Halo rings. But what do you anticipate for the next episode?
Well, so we see him find his childhood home, right?
Yeah.
And these memories are coming back with the help of Cortana, kind of like helping him visualize it when it's help. And so I immediately thought when that scene was playing out on the ship and they arrive at Iridian, I think is the name of the planet,
Hmm.
and he goes, "All right, let's go." And you see the helmet, and he puts on the helmet, and I'm like, "All right, we're hopping into it." And not 30 seconds later, he's like, "All right, helmet off. We're
Take
off
off
the
the
ship.
helmet.
Take off the helmet. We're back with the helmet off." And I'm just like,
Mhm.
I was immediately thinking of like haters, like, "Oh, they're just gonna have a field day with this." Like, he never keeps his helmet on. He never does anything. And that's kind of where we're going with this. But we're exploring his backstory. So, he's like, "Oh, my stuff was over there. It was over here. Oh, that table was here." And so he's, reliving this. And we come to find out, and the whole time, too, if you're paying attention, especially on the rewatch, if you're paying attention to Halsey and her mannerisms and her dialogue and what
Mhm.
she's doing, she keeps giving him this false positive reinforcement because she's trying to basically just keep him happy and tell him what he wants to know. And because
She's
at the beginning of the
hiding
episode,
stuff.
yeah, oh yeah, exactly. The beginning of the episode we skipped over, but it's a flashback to when he's a kid, right? Like immediately after he got taken from his home, and he's still young. He's like 10, 12 years old. And she's basically like, "Oh, you're the best. I think you're gonna be their leader one day. So I need you to try real hard." And I'm like, how many of the other Spartans did she say that exact same line to?
Mm.
Or is it just him, but still she's basically just trying to butter him up and make him happy, and she was doing that through this whole episode, basically, and then basically trying to cover her tracks, and, like, if you find this out as you're a parent, at least I did, but you see it in life too. When someone does something wrong, if they can try to head off you finding out about it before you do, they can try to swing their story as the narrative, not what actually happened. So she
Wow.
knows he's going and getting these memories back. She knows he's going to remember stuff, and she's just like, "Hey, just remember, like, if you remember stuff, sometimes your memory can play tricks on you. Just
Yeah.
FYI, like, before we go in there, sometimes you'll remember things wrong." Because 2 scenes later, we see him remember them playing this coin flip game where he's, nailing all the coin flips. He's,
Every time,
like,
yeah.
yeah, he knows what the coin is. And it's her in his living room. And this whole time she's been acting like she has no idea where they are and what planet is this and et cetera. Like she's never been there before. And so that pissed him off, But she was trying to set that up. She was trying to set the road for that this whole time. Like, hey, you might see things that aren't real. Because she knew what was about to happen as he's gaining all these memories back. She's about to be in trouble. She's gonna get find out. And I think
Mhm.
she did. So we'll see if he turns on her or if he continues to believe her or forgive her, that
And
type of
that
thing.
yeah, and I think that's where the next episode goes into it,
Mhm.
where Halsey, because the way it ended, you're just like getting this revelation through the doctor about Halsey and how she views Spartans, how she views humans,
Mhm.
and just how flawed they are, and how she looks at everything through like a data lens,
Yeah.
and just I think it's going to backfire heavily.
Mhm.
It'll put Cortana into a bit of a situation where she's conflicted. Like she'll see the Master Chief and what he's going through and what Halsey is trying to do, and makes you wonder. Will Cortana too also turn on Halsey? And what about the Spartans?
Mhm.
Are they going to follow their leader? One of them is kind of I guess, free in the sense of
Yeah.
they're experiencing human emotions and experiences that they've yet to experience, like Master Chief in the
Right.
previous episode, whatnot. So it could get very ugly for Halsey.
Uh,
I tell you, like I was kind of hoping. I wasn't kind of. I was hoping that the Covenant would show up there, because
yeah.
that's where the artifact is.
Mm.
But
We
no
saw
Covenant.
we saw zero Covenant in this episode.
We saw a corpse. That's it on the
True. Yeah, yeah. On the
lab
operating
table.
table.
But yeah,
The coroner's
that's it.
table, yeah.
Nothing of God. What's her name? The human Covenant. The chosen one.
Maki.
Maki. Yeah.
Hmm.
Nothing with her. She's still
Nope.
afloat on space. Just
Yeah.
whatever on that
On,
UNSC ship.
on the freighter, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if Kai might try to help the other Spartans awaken as well and remove their little pills. I wonder if she might try to set them free in a sense. And that can cause all kinds of trouble. If, like I'm thinking, if they're not going to adapt well, if they're going to kind of go crazy because of the overstimulation type of stuff. I wonder if
Right.
that might be a story beat or if she'll just be an outlier. Like she's like, I'm done taking orders. Like,
Yeah.
oh, we thought you were the, we thought we needed to do everything that Master Chief told us to do. Like, no, I'm not doing it anymore. Like that doesn't make any sense. Or Halsey or whatever the case is.
And
You
I
might
don't
see
think it
that.
would be I don't think the reason for that happening would be because she despises the Master Chief at all. It would be
Mhm.
more about Halsey and just how much, of her life up to this point has been manipulated.
Mm.
And so it could get very ugly for the UNSC.
Mhm.
I hope in the next episode we see more of the Covenant and the story goes a little bit faster. I
Mhm.
know it's 9
Yeah.
episodes, but I like to see the pace picked up a little bit. I like to see some fire. We'd both like to see some
Yeah.
firefight. Anything, please.
Did did you and Jake talk about last week that we kind of find out that that Miranda Keys, the other doctor, is Halsey's daughter? They subtly drop it. When Halsey's talking to her clone before she sticks a freaking needle in her
Oh
eye,
yeah,
she's just like, "Oh, we had our daughter Miranda. Do you still speak with?" Like she said, like she's or something like that. She's like, "Do you still speak with her?" Or something. There was something to that effect. I can't remember the exact quote. But they just move right past it. She's like, "No." She's like so blank, like a robot, and they just move
yeah.
right past it. And then they
No,
talk.
no, no,
She
no. Yeah,
bring
we didn't touch on that. No.
Yeah, and then Miranda brings it up in this episode. She's like, "Yeah, my mother never. You guys were always her favorites, and I never really got to interact with you guys because I thought you guys were all having fun or whatever." And then they go into the whole thing about the animals that they had to kill, Kingsman style. But I just thought it was interesting that you know Dr. Keys is so normal, for lack of a better word, whereas Halsey is just like staunch. Like I'm just in my work, and I'm a robot as well, so I've made more robots.
It further, you know, um, exemplifies
Mhm.
Halsey and
Yeah.
what she is. And I mean, like we've been saying this whole time, it could end very, very bad for her.
Yeah.
And we'll wait and see what happens. But that's gonna do it for episode 4 of Halo. Sean, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure talking with you about this. Go ahead and plug Flick and Reel. You said you had something happening in a couple hours.
Right over here, our normal Friday show would go 9 p.m. Pacific time. And we do our Moon Knight reviews. We'll do another Halo review with my partner Jesse and Allison and whomever else is on the show that night. And then we just do a normal hangout show. And the total show goes, I don't know, 2 hours or so, just as long as we're just hanging out, shooting the shit. It's just a chill, relaxing show. So come join us, Flick and Reel on YouTube. And if you're watching this after the fact, please check out our the rest of the VODs on there. We got all kinds of good stuff, reviews of everything. I do a video game play alongs. I'm playing Horizon Zero Forbidden West right now, which is really fun. So I'm just putting those up in
Nice.
like episodic, and it's a good time. Come hang out.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be on that Flick and Reel channel fairly soon
Yeah.
for an event that they will announce sometime
Oh
soon.
yeah.
I don't know.
We're gonna do. I'll say it. We're gonna
Okay.
do a birthday stream, if that's what you're talking about. And so we're
Mhm.
just gonna do a hangout, big show. We got all kinds of things. Jesse's mainly planning it because it's his birthday, so he's doing all the work. But we'll announce that soon, and we'll put out a thumbnail of some kind with the date and time and whatnot.
Can't wait for that. And of course, you guys can find me on this channel, Apocalypse Movies. Tuesday, our Apocalypse Now movie hangout show. We do Marvel Rewind on Wednesdays, Halo reviews on Thursdays. This week was an anomaly. Again, I'm moving. Okay. Well, I've already moved, but now I'm just cleaning up and getting things organized. So expect a different background next week. And
Party at your ass.
that's going to do it. Thank you so much for joining us and watching, whether you're watching live, John Booze, or on the playback. We appreciate it so much. Until then, you guys take care.